So I just wanted to make a quick video and show you some of the things that I look for after a long season of hunting. A lot of these things I do check throughout the season, but it's always good after a long hard season of hunting to just go over all your equipment with a fine-tooth comb, make sure everything is safe, make sure that everything is the way you want it to be, so that as you start going back out and getting ready for whatever you're going to be doing next with your bow, that you're ready to go. So I'm going to go over a few things. I have my bear moment here. This is the bow that I used during fall whitetail season here in Kansas. So I'm going to go over everything on this bow, make sure it's still safe first and foremost, and just make sure that there's no small things maybe that have moved around or got where I don't want them to be. The second piece of equipment, of course, I'm going to be looking at is my arrows. And then as well, I'm going to be looking at my release too. You know, I really want to look at every part of my equipment that could fail, be unsafe, or keep me from being the best archer that I can be. So with that, I think I'm going to get into the bow first. A quick little tip that I've learned when you're checking your limbs for safety to see if there's any cracks or breaks or splits or anything like that, splinters. Sometimes little splinters on your limbs are very difficult to see with the eye. You can take a cotton ball or like a Q-tip and you can just run it across back and forth over your limbs, every one, you know, all sides, front to back. So you just want to run over your limbs, make sure nothing catches on the cotton ball, and because a little splinter, like I said, can be very difficult to see. And if you feel something catch on that cotton ball, it can alert you to a problem. The next thing I'm going to be doing visually is just looking over the riser, looking over the roller, the string stops, everything just physically on the bow. You know, after a hunting season, you know, pulling your bow up and down the tree, hauling it in and out of the woods. You know, there can be little nicks, and you know, I mean, hunting bow's made to be used. So a lot of times a little nick, scratch, things like that, you know, isn't really something to be concerned about. But it's good to look for those things because they can be an issue. It can be something worth investigating. So just looking over string stops, making sure that the rubber is not getting abnormally worn. The next thing I'm going to be looking at is my string over the entire thing, even including the parts that run along the cams, checking all the serving, looking for anything that's frayed or inconsistent, making sure that the loops that tie onto the posts on the cams are not getting worn or anything like that, checking the cables for the same type of things. I feel like I have a pretty good habit about taking care of my bow and my string and monitoring for things like that, but it never hurts to do a good once over. If nothing else, it helps my confidence in the bow. After that, I'm going to take a set of Allen wrenches and I'm going to go over every bolt, every screw, anything that can come loose on this bow. On the bow, the cams, on the sight, on the arrow rest, on the roller. I'll go through every single thing on here and make sure that it's tight and that it's safe. Kind of once you looked over everything on your bow, as far as the release goes, I have this wrist strap release. I've used it for a couple years now and I just can't get rid of it. I tried a thumb release last summer for almost the entire summer and it was fine. I didn't have any complaints about it, but when I went back to my wrist strap, I was just more consistent. So, you know, this has leather strap that has like cloth on each side. So just making sure all the stitching looks safe. None of these spots are coming up. Looking at the metal, make sure again there's no big dings or anything that could be unsafe. Just checking that the trigger works properly. And again, this one does have a few adjustment screws for length and things like that, and I will check those as well to make sure that they're safe. The last thing I'm sure everyone talks about all the time, but is so important, are your arrows. So again, you know, just visually inspecting them. I guess you could do the same thing with a cotton ball. You know, you can run a cotton ball along there as you're turning it. Make sure that it's not snagging anywhere, that there's no splinters on there. And then checking the fletchings, make sure they're completely glued on, front to back, they're all glued on. Check your nock. A cracked nock is something easy to miss and that can be very, very dangerous, or at least make you very, very inconsistent, but at most can be very, very dangerous. And of course you want to bend your arrows. You want to check them, spin them, bend them real good several times. I do this every time I shoot my arrows, which is recommended. Checking the fletchings again. And as a quick one over, that's kind of what I do, but I really encourage you to take a close look at your bow, take a close look at your arrows, at whatever sort of release you're using. Any kind of equipment that you're using, it wears out. You know, it's a product that wears out, and you know, some products last longer than others, but it's always good to, again, if nothing else, at least for your confidence in your equipment, which will result in your ability to be a good archer. So those are some of my quick tips. If anybody has anything else that I've missed or that you have found helpful, I'd always be glad to hear that, and maybe I can make a follow-up video if there is any important things that I did miss, or if there's some really cool tips out there. Always looking to hear input from everybody out there. I know that there's lots and lots of archers out there, bow hunters, target archers, whatever it may be, that have done this for a lot longer than I have, and you know, I'm sure everyone has their own style and the things they like to do or don't do. So with that, Average Outdoorsman, looking forward to a great 2018.